Okay, the last bit of this lesson is choosing a sample size. So you can imagine, as a researcher, you want to make sure that you start out with a big enough sample so that it's going to be useful in the end, that it's going to meet the conditions. On the other hand, you don't want to pick a sample too big, at least in some cases, because it can be expensive and time consuming. So what if you need to choose a sample size? Well, it's kind of tricky, because when we look at sample size, for margin of error, we know the mean, we know the standard deviation. So working backwards to figure out a sample size when we don't know the mean and don't know the standard deviation, or the population standard deviation and mean, can be tricky. So we kind of fudge. So to determine the sample size that will give us confidence, allow us to make a confidence interval, and with the margin of error that we want, the first thing we do is, and this sounds a little weird, but we get a reasonable value for the population standard deviation from another study. So you go find somebody else that has studied what you are studying, and you just borrow theirs. Which, what will happen in the problems that you're given is that you'll be given it, okay? All right, so then, now that you've got that, you have a population standard deviation. So now you find the z-star from the standard normal curve, just like we did before. So you go back to table A, and you use that to find your z-star. And then you use this little expression down here at the bottom to find your margin of error. And using z-star, using that sample standard deviation that you got from this other study over the square root of n. Now this is, remember, this is only for if you're trying to choose a sample size. That's the only thing we use this for. Okay, so once again, here's an actual problem. Pause the recording, read the problem, make sure you've got what the problem is asking for, and then turn it back on. Okay, the first thing you want to do after reading a problem like that is gather together the important information that you're going to need to figure out this sample size. So the researchers need the margin of error to be 1. You need that piece of information. So margin of error, they want it to be within 1, so 1 or less. Number 2, they stated they wanted a 95% confidence level. And number 3, the previous study showed sigma to be 5. Okay, so we take the 95% confidence level, and we remember that, oh yeah, we remembered this 68, 95, 99.7 empirical rule way back at the beginning of the course, but we've now been informed that that 95 is not really exactly 2 standard deviations, it's 1.96 standard deviations. So for a 95% confidence level, we use z-star is 1.96. Then we use that sigma is 5 as our best guess for the standard deviation, and we take our expression that we were given and we just fill in the numbers. So here's our margin of error over here on the right, and that has, this margin of error, this 1.96 times 5 over the square root of our sample size, has to be less than 1 or equal to 1. But it can't be greater than 1. So this margin of error has to be less than or equal to 1, because that's what the scientists said they wanted. So now to solve it, you put the numbers in the formula, you multiply both sides by the square root of n, and then you square both sides. And that's how you get, this answer. So the answer is 96.04. So you can't have 96.04 monkeys. You have to have 97 monkeys, and you would always go up to the next one, because if you don't, then it's going to make your margin of error too big. So you always have to round those up. if it comes out as a decimal, which it often would. Okay, so then this is the summary for this section, and that's all of 8.3. So this is the summary for what we did on Monday and what you listened to today. And of course, feel free to go back and watch the video as many times as you like, or any sections of it that are helpful to you. Max has been agreeable to studying in advance so that he can be helpful. So work the problems in the assignment, which are posted on Canvas here. And if you need some help, maybe ask Max, or I'm sure there's other people in the room that are also able to help. Don't forget to use that 4-step process as is posted on the board on the side of the room. I keep trying to stress that. I can't stress it enough. Okay, you guys, I hope it's going well. If you're really stumped on something, email me and I will respond as soon as I see it. I don't know how much leeway I'll have to check my email during the day, but I will definitely see it in the evening and email you back. All right? Bye.